Welcome to Huddle Up,
Brought to you by the Fields Auto Group.
Jaguars senior writer John Oehser, NFL Network analyst and former Jaguar Bucky Brooks, and senior reporter J.P. Shadrick bring you the latest on your Jacksonville Jaguars. Huddle Up starts right now.
Welcome in. It is Wednesday of week 4, and it's time for Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks. We've got a busy show ahead. Of course, a final look at the Texans Jaguars, the aftermath of the Jaguars' divisional win last week, 17-10 over the Houston Texans. A first look at the Jaguars matchup against the San Francisco 49ers this Sunday at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. Quarterback play under the microscope. We'll dig into Trevor Lawrence's season so far, and the defense, of course, playing well and leading the league in takeaways and getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback also from the edges. Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks is brought to you by Fields Auto Group Jacksonville. See Fields first, Jacksonville's premier luxury auto group. Go to fieldsauto.com. J.P. Shadrick, John Oehser. We're at the Hyundai Studios at the Miller Electric Center. Bucky Brooks is out in Los Angeles, and it is Wednesday. Bucky, you're with us again. And here we are. The Jags are 2-1 after a win over the Houston Texans. Good to be a winning team right now.
Yeah, good to be a winning team. Great effort by the Jaguars to get that dub. And, you know, it wasn't necessarily pretty at all times, particularly on offense, but defensively they stood up. And when you think about the Jaguars and what they could be, there's a reasonable argument that you can make they should be undefeated. 3-0, going to the West Coast to take a team that should be what is considered a measuring stick game, a game to kind of see where we are, how we stack up against some of the teams that others would regard as the elites in the league.
Yeah, they could be 3-0. They played 2 tight games, and I say they deserve 2-1 and could be 3-0. And I'm with Bucky. To me and JP, we've talked about it. I think the fight they've shown in the first 3 games, the way they won that Texans game, really important, really impressive. And I heard from people around here for a month, 2 months, 3 months leading into the season that they were going to be a team that fought, that played tough, that was in games, that was going to be well coached, that was going to give themselves a chance in most games. And that's what we've seen. And I think that's what you've got to be in the first year of a new regime. And then you can build later on and start being a dominant team as you grow, get better, get used to it. But this is how you start climbing out of 4-13 toward where they want to be. I don't think you get to great without grinding through some of these, and I'm impressed.
Yeah, absolutely. And plenty to get to, of course, on the offensive side here. A lot to work on that side of the ball, but the defense really leading the way and keeping this team afloat in games, at least a couple of those games, certainly this past week. The 9 takeaways, 3 of them this past week against the Texans, and there's pressure from the edge rushers. It's funny, we were in the locker room today, and I asked Josh Hines-Allen, you guys are getting pressures, one of the best pressure duos in the league, you and Trayvon, but what's the next step for you? He's like, what? Why don't you just ask how do we get more sacks?
JP wants more sacks, Bucky. He's not happy with pressures.
But
he has a high standard.
The pressures are there. That's the next step, right, is getting home on the quarterback more.
I mean, yeah, but that's really a collective effort. It's not just them. It's being able to have tighter coverage down the field to buy the extra beat of a second to allow them to get home. It all works together. And surprisingly, because you would think that as much zone as we're playing, that the ball would come out quicker and that teams would be able to slow down the pass rush by really throwing quicks and bubbles and screens and those things. The Jags have been really good tackling on the perimeter, so they've negated that strategy. And when they've had to jump into some tighter coverage, some match coverage, some man-to-man, they've really been snug in that. And that has given them the opportunity to get more sacks, more pressures, even though the stat line doesn't always reflect it.
Yeah, and I think one of the hidden things in this defense is how well they're tackling. Mm-hmm. It feels like that is enabling them to be in better down and distance situations that has enabled them to have more pressure. But, I agree with Bucky, and I sort of agree with Josh, not to go against you, JP.
No.
But the pressure that Trayvon, Josh Hines-Allen, these guys are putting on, pressure is sustainable. And sacks aren't always sustainable. So the pressure is really important. And, so yeah, I am siding with Josh on this one.
But you know,
I am team Josh on this one, not team JP.
You always reference one of the pass rushers in Indianapolis who said his best pass rushing season was when he had like 2 sacks. Who was that?
That was Freeney. And, his point was it's very circumstantial. You can control pressures as a defensive end to a degree. I mean, sometimes teams get the ball out or they roll away from you. You can't always control it. But Smoot, right before the podcast last week, I asked him the same question. I said, am I reading this wrong? And he said, no, sacks usually happen when you get multiple guys rushing well in the same play, and then one of you will get a sack. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're going to get a guy where you just beat a guy off the edge and sack him. But if a great pass rusher gets 4 or 5 those a year, it's a lot. It's usually 3 or 4 guys rushing well. Guy gets flushed toward one of the guys rushing well, and then he gets the sack. That's how a lot of sacks come. And it's why they always talk. Josh Allen, for 5 or 6 years, has talked about rushing as a unit and rush and cover. And that's, if you're playing well within that, your percentages are going to go up, and you're going to be a sack guy within that concept. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it all works together. Josh Allen, it sounds like, is relating to John, the way that the coverage and the front work together to get sacks. If the coverage is good on the back end, then it allows the front end to be able to get after it, and vice versa. If the rush is great, then it allows the back end to begin to get turnovers and takeaways off tips, deflections, errant passes, because the quarterback is under duress. The one thing that I believe is underrated and hasn't been talked about enough is the reason why Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker have been more effective is because there's a legitimate pass rush presence on the inside. Eric Armstead making disruptive plays on the inside has created more one-on-one opportunities for those guys on the outside. And the middle push, the push in the middle of the pocket, forces the quarterbacks to flee to one of those guys and, I guess, kind of run into their waiting arms, as they would say, if you're a romantic, JP.
Yeah, I am. Eric Armstead today, of course, said in the locker room he's not really thinking a whole lot about the good return to San Francisco. There's some feelings there, but hey, he's playing football. He's been around it for a long time. What helps a pass rush? Having a lead late in games. The offense has to do some of their part as well, and it has been a struggle some this season. Of course, last week, couldn't get much done offensively. They were having trouble catching the football. They missed a couple of deep shots down the field from the quarterback. And so far this year, Trevor Lawrence is 29th among qualified quarterbacks in passer rating, 70.3. And in the second half of games, Bucky, it's even worse, 56 rating so far, when it really should matter. You got to make big plays in big moments late. How does the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, get on track here offensively?
I think it's a few different things. One, his stat line is reflective not only of his work, but the performance of those around him. And the wide receivers have not been good. They weren't good last Sunday. Too many drop passes, too many miscommunications where people aren't in the right spot. Trevor has missed his fair share of throws, but all of that doesn't fall on him. I would say the way that Trevor can improve upon that is he and the wide receivers got to spend extra time to make sure that everyone is on the same page. Everyone knows exactly what they're doing. And when you get your opportunity to have the ball hit in your direction, you have to catch it. I mean, Trevor can do a lot of things. He can't walk it to them and put them in the bread basket and tell them, okay, now you take it and go run with it. These guys have to catch the football. And it's one of the more disappointing things that we've seen. Our guys have not consistently caught the ball. So Liam Cohen has to make a choice. Trevor Lawrence has to make a choice. If you're throwing the ball to guys and they're dropping it, then the ball has to go to your most sure-handed players. And right now, that's Bretton Strange and that's Travis Hunter. I would expect them to get more touches because they're the ones who've been the most consistent when it comes to the catch percentage.
Yeah, Bucky, they've just shown about 4 or 5 of the drops on this, and I get questions all the time. Is Trevor throwing the ball too hard? I'm not going to say he's never in his career had issues where he could have shown more touch, right? But JP, you're watching these along with me.
Yep.
there's not a single pass in it that's too hard. And if it is, I mean, and I don't think
Brett
any
Favre
receiver
throwing the football at him.
right,
Like,
Parker Washington and Brian Thomas Jr., the guys who were showing the drops. I don't pretend to know them, that well, but I know them well enough to know they're not going to blame Trevor for those drops. Look, Trevor is not one of the best 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the league right now, but he's also not number 29, reflective of that. And the drops the other day were weird. Like, it was almost like it got in the water. He is not, like, whatever stat you want to use against him, his quarterback rating this year is not reflective of how he's playing. And I would say it's far more reflective, as Bucky said, far more of a result of the drop passes. I mean, De'Ami Brown drops one against Cincinnati. Long pass down the sidelines. It was a tough catch, but BTJ has to make it the other day. Let's see what the rating is if you factored all those into catches. Not 29.
And it's not a pressure issue either. The offensive line is actually, for the most part, Bucky, kept him upright this year.
The offensive line has been more effective than I think anybody would imagine, based on the questions and concerns that we had going into the year. So they've done their job up front. He hasn't taken an extraordinary amount of hits and those things. We can talk about the wide receivers and their drops and those things. I would say the one piece where Trevor has to get better is decision-making in crucial moments, meaning in the red zone. Can't put the ball in harm's way. We have some mistakes that have really hurt us because you're turning the ball over in those times. He also has to resist the urge to try and fit the ball into tight windows when it's not necessary, meaning understand time score situation. There's a time and a place when you have to try and squeeze the ball into tight windows because it's a gotta have it down. But on some of these downs, if the window is tight, that means someone else is open and you got to get to them in their progression. So it's a little bit of Trevor Lawrence. There's a little bit of pieces around them. They just haven't got together, but you're still hopeful and optimistic that this group is too talented to continue to struggle like they've been struggling. You just hope that we can fix it and fix it soon.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 a game. I mean, I just kind of spent my last minute, I guess, defending Trevor, however you want to phrase that. But there's 3 or 4 a game where you're like, what in the world is going on? But I've been, in the last couple of weeks, the drops have been more the storyline. They have been to the point where last week, at one point I dropped my pen and I said, what is going, like, this is weird. But I will say this, through 3 games, Bucky, and I want to get your thought on this, I'm more optimistic that what they're doing on offense, they've gotten guys open every week. There have been more than, this offense is functioning, the play calling or the whatever, the opportunities are there. And I'm more convinced after Sunday that this is going to be a good running team all season. They had the deal where JP asked me about it. You weren't there, Bucky. But JP asked me about it before the pregame. I said it's going to be interesting today to see what happens to the Jaguars when the Texans stop the run. Because usually at some point in the first 2 or 3 games, if a team wants to stop you running, they will figure out a way to do it. They can scheme that. And I thought in the second half, when Liam figured out a way to get that running game going, that showed me that throughout the course of the season, over 17 games, I don't think they're going to have very many when you look at the stat sheet and it's 22 yards and they just couldn't do anything. I believe more in this running game after Sunday than I did the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think the running game, the test that the Texans presented, not only their physicality, speed, toughness, their commitment to defending the run, it really tested the patience and the discipline of Liam Cohen. And what we saw was someone who figured it out at halftime. And one of the things that you're always evaluating on the head coach and the offensive and defensive coaches, how quickly can they adapt and adjust? What are the changes that they have already in the holster in anticipating how a defense may defend them? What are they going to go to? What's next on the plan? And Liam has done a really good job of kind of finding the answers. And he talked about it. Hey, it took us a little while, but at halftime, we kind of figured it out. We had some answers and solutions, and we're able to get the running game untracked in the second half. And as long as that running game is a steady Eddie presence for this team, the big plays are going to be there in the passing game. It's just a matter of making sure all aspects of the offense are operating at a high level, particularly down the stretch, because that's when your team has a chance to really make a run. They can go from good to great, and they can kind of shape themselves into being a legitimate contender because you got all of the pieces of the offense working together.
Remember, JP, we talked a couple weeks ago about Liam, and he's as advertised. He can coach offense, and he can really coach the running game. I would be very surprised if this is not – I don't even know what they're ranked, but I'd be very surprised if this is not an efficient offense, that once they start catching the ball, I think they're going to be better in the future. Like in future years, once they get it right and get it, But I think this year, I believe this offense is going to be very productive throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, there's plenty ahead. We'll come back. We'll see if it's productive this week in San Francisco. We'll check out the San Francisco 49ers on both sides of the football. They're 3-0, and they have a slew of injuries. We'll get to all those coming up. Monday Night Football is coming to the bank October 6th. It's a matchup you don't want to miss as the Jaguars entertain the Kansas City Chiefs. The Jags are throwing it back in the Prowler jerseys again. Get your tickets now, jaguars.com/tickets, or call 904-633-2000. A look at the Niners after this. It's Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks.
And say you're going to get greedy at some point, you're going to get bored at some point of kind of playing the 12 to 15 and in game, right? Because they do play a ton of quarters, lead the NFL, I believe, in shell coverage and quarters and cover 6, quarter, half variations. We'll see if that holds true this week for sure, but that's definitely what they've wanted to do through 3 games, and it just makes you as a play caller and as a quarterback have to be patient and meticulous and just keep taking what they end up giving you. And then, we have to take advantage of the ops that we do get down the field that we didn't take advantage of this past week.
Head coach Liam Cohen earlier today, the full press conference at Jaguars.com or Jaguars YouTube. Welcome back. It's Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks. And if you always wanted an autographed jersey, an exclusive VIP experience with the Jaguars, ? It could all be yours today. Visit Jaguars.com/sweepstakes and learn how you could be the next fan to win big. JP Shadrick with John Oehser, Jaguars.com senior writer, and Jaguars field analyst Bucky Brooks in Los Angeles. And that conversation there, I think, John, you asked that question of him, the patience down the field it takes against this 49ers defense that, Robert Saleh's in charge out there again. We know him well. And they've got some injury issues, certainly on the offensive side, but now it's creeping over to defense as well. Nick Bosa, the big loss, of course, on the defensive line. You've got some younger players in there that'll roll in and play defense. You see on your screen all the injuries, maybe not even all of the injuries, but a good bit of the injuries for the 49ers, including Brock Purdy, who didn't play the last 2 weeks on the
Ben
offensive
Bartch on
side.
that list. Ben Bartch,
former Jaguar there. A couple of defensive guys on that list. We'll start with the defense here, Bucky. What stands out the most when you look at the 49ers on film defensively?
Well, I mean, look, what stands out the most is Nick Bosa not being there creates a huge hole for them when it comes to pass rushing. He's a dominant pass rusher. He's a disruptive presence. He is someone who can take over the game, and without him, it changes the dynamic of that rush. Now, they'll figure out a way to get some young athletic players. Mikael Williams may have an opportunity to play a role. They have some other guys that can play a role, but no one that is like Nick Bosa. And if you're the Jaguars, it means that you don't necessarily have to direct your protection in a particular way to double team or chip a player. That should free up Trevor Lawrence to have more time to attack. But as Liam Cohen kind of warned everybody, this is a game of patience. And this is a game where the quarterback and everybody has to be patient. It's going to be rare that those big play opportunities are there. And you're going to have to drive the ball the length of the field, taking dink and dunk plays. And they want to see if you're patient and disciplined enough to do it, because they're betting that you will get bored or distracted and you would try and fit a ball into a tight window that leads to an interception off her tip or overthrow.
Yeah, I think it's a big game for Trevor for that reason. The Texans clearly, stacked the line and dared him to beat them, and play a similar way that the Niners will play. The Niners play it at a high level. Trevor does need to answer. He's had 4 or 5 throws a game that you're like, what? Well, the way the 49ers play, they're assuming that if they have a 12-play drive, that he'll have one of those plays most series. So I think it's a huge game for Trevor to just eliminate some of those and show that he can be the patient dink and dunk, be accurate short. Some of the things that I think he can do but hasn't done at a consistent level yet this year. I don't want to say it's Trevor's game to win or lose, but I think maybe more than any game yet, how he plays will dictate how they do.
Yeah, it will. But I take a lot of confidence from the fact that typically Trevor Lawrence has played well against Gus Bradley's defense.
True.
When Gus Bradley was in Indianapolis, he had a lot of success because he knew going into the game that it was going to require a lot of patience. He put on his little patience hat, and he dictated the terms, taking the dink and dunk. Now that he knows going into this that Robert Saleh's defense is a variation of what Gus Bradley does, he also knows going in, hey, this is a week where I really have to take the checkdowns. The more that I take the checkdowns, the more likely I'm eventually going to get something at the intermediate level that I want. But going into it, I would think Travis Etienne, the running backs, man, they may combine for 10 or more receptions because it's run everyone off the field, get the back, dump it off, let him get the work. I think Travis Hunter could be in line to have a big game. We've seen him run those 5-yard in routes that are like nice for him because he can catch it and knife up the field. To me, all of that is in play. And it literally is about Trevor not only being patient in the 20s, I think where his patience has to pay off, can he be patient enough in the red zone to not try and fit the ball in, to avoid making the hero throws and allow the offense to work for him. And then the final part of it is the Jaguars have to get 7s in the red zone. They can't consistently settle for 3s. I think depending on who the quarterback is on the other side, whether it's Mac Jones or Brock Purdy, there's a magic number that will exist. And that magic number may be 20, 21 points. So however you have to stack it, you get above that because for all the things that the Niners are, I don't know how explosive they will be on offense if Mac Jones is the quarterback this week. And that's not being disrespectful to him at all.
Yeah, if what you don't want to see in this game is in the first half, you look at the stat sheet and you see a bunch of stars next to the drives because that shows you it's a red zone drive, and those drives ending with the 49ers happy.
Right.
And, with a pick and they're going to break and they're showing the Niners in front of that screen. If you see that, then they've given away opportunities. And also, Bucky, to me, this is I'm writing about it for later this week. I thought before the season that if this offense was going to be really, really good, it was going to have a lot more big plays than last year. It was going to have, so it feels like they have to be patient. Like Trevor can't force it. But at some point on Sunday, Travis Hunter's got to break a tackle and go. Like he's got to turn one of those short passes into a break, make a move and go. You're going to need some sort of special from BTJ and or Travis. Because I don't know, the 49ers want to hold them to long drives. The Jaguars have to trump that and have one of their guys make one or two of their guys make a big play that goes against that, I think, for them to win.
Yeah, this is where the scripted winners come in. I would say the X factor in this to me is Liam Cohen's experience with the Rams.
Yeah.
Having seen the Niners a lot, having seen the success that Sean McVay has had against the Niners, understanding that, kind of taking some of the mystique that the Niners can have in some stadiums against some of those teams and coaches, that shouldn't exist for Liam because he's seen and been a part of teams that have really beaten the Niners and they understand everything that goes along with beating them in their place. To me, this could be a game that becomes sneaky explosive for the Jaguars because Liam is so confident in his scheme and he's seen Robert Saleh's defense so much that they have some things on the menu that are scripted winners that if completed, it really changes the outlook of the game. Now it's a matter of We got to catch them when they're there, and we got to make sure the throw is there. But there are going to be some opportunities where he draws it up, where these can be home run plays for the Jaguars.
That's why it's his show, JP.
That's exactly
That's why it's the Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks and John Oehser.
Is analysis. Back in a moment, and we'll figure out Bucky's answer to defend Christian McCaffrey. We'll get that when we come back. If you want customized Jags furniture for your home, check out zipchair.com and browse all customizable options. ZipChair, furniture for fans. It's Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks.
We've got to attack the ball more, I think, with our hands instead of letting it maybe get into the body at times. We always talk about not trying to let the ball cross our eyes. So if it's an in-breaker or even an out-breaker, trying not to let it cross you this way at all. There's a difference between the ball being, here and going and getting it there. That's just kind of the way that's how we're trying to coach it.
Liam Cohen trying to explain how to get the drops out of the system. And welcome back. It's Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks, JP Shadrick, John Oehser, and yes, Bucky Brooks. And if you're Duval enough to become the Jaguars 2025 Fan of the Year and earn a trip to the Super Bowl, visit NFL.com/Fan of the Year and nominate yourself or another fan today. That would be fun. The Jaguars.
Can
fun.
Can I nominate myself?
Yeah, you can,
Is that possible?
Bucky. I think so,
Okay,
probably.
I'm going to the website, see if I can nominate myself.
I don't know how many times. John, would you nominate yourself to go to the Super Bowl as the fan
I was
of the
going to
year?
say, that's like when I was in high school, I always voted for myself and never won. So, I mean, that's my MO.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
That's okay. Jaguars defense this week facing in the San Francisco 49ers, of course. The big first question mark is who's playing quarterback. Brock Purdy has not been ruled out yet. Mac Jones was on the injury report. He had a PCL issue pop up from the summertime last week and limited with that knee issue today. Purdy also limited, so we'll see what happens as the week goes along. One person who will be out there, though, and it's our defensive coverage of the game presented by GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, benefits for federal employees and retirees, and it's running back Christian McCaffrey. He's all over the field all the time. He leads the league in touches this season so far, 77 total, 52 carries, 25 receptions, and it's the most through 3 games in his career. Is this sustainable, and how do you slow him down, Bucky?
I mean, look, he's one of the best running backs that we've seen in NFL history. Just talk about someone who's in rare clubs, 1,000, 1,000, 1,100 when it comes to rushing yards and catches. He's done it all when it comes to that. He is the guy that drives their offense. And when he is going as a runner or as a receiver, it spells doom for the defense. I think the one thing that you have to understand is where he is at all times. You got to make sure you get multiple bodies to him. You have to be aware of him on these screen down situations, second and long, first of drive, first time you enter the red zone, the screen could come to him. So just being aware of him at all times. This is a game where you got to make somebody else beat you. You have to make one of their guys on the perimeter, make somebody else have a big game to beat you. It has to be all eyes on 22. Let's limit him and limit his opportunities.
Yeah, I also think you can't get overwhelmed by them early. Every time I've seen a Shanahan team play this team, it's only a couple of times, it started feeling like an avalanche fast. And maybe it was game circumstance, but they're going to get, because he schemes so well, they're going to have some success at times early. And Josh Hines Allen said in the locker room after JP and he went at it.
We didn't go at it. What are you talking about?
I mean, it was a little sparring.
Something wrong with you, man.
But he said, you can't lose confidence when you play them. You can't. I forget what word he used, but basically that you got to stay calm and realize, okay, they're doing some stuff with motions, with that we have to adapt to. Let's take a deep breath and adapt to it. It's okay. We're going to get this right. So I do think against a Shanahan offense that staying poised, which I do believe these guys will, and not getting overwhelmed is key.
Yeah, no, this is a big part of that. And at their place, it can be an overwhelming environment. And so it's trying to avoid the feeding frenzy that is the bang bang Niners game. Meaning when they get it going on defense and they start making plays and that offense get going and then the crowds get into it, it does have this overwhelming effect. And so we have to avoid the avalanche. That's why it's really important for Trevor Lawrence and the guys on offense, take care of the ball, don't give the ball away. Let's avoid the self-inflicted mistakes that have kind of hurt us the last few weeks. And then on defense is doing what they've really done. The Jaguars have done a really good job of taking away the explosive play, forcing the team to drive the length of the field on dink and dunk plays, and then you have to rally and tackle. It is the same thing. Take away the deep ball, tackle in space, make them kick field goals. If the Jaguars do that, it potentially could be hard for the Niners to put up enough points to knock the Jaguars out of the game.
The Niners are 3-0, Bucky, but they don't feel dominant yet. And I'm not saying they're not good because I really like this team and organization. I think they're one of the best in the league. But have they got it going, or are they? Is this a time where the Jags can get them on that front? Because they're not. It doesn't seem like they're running fine-tuned the way they often do. I think they will, but it doesn't seem like they have yet.
Well, look, man, they've been hurt with injuries. A lot of the players that they're counting on to be their difference makers right now on the sideline. You talk about Bosie, Kittle, Brandon Ayuk hasn't shown up. Brock Purdy is a game-time decision. So they don't have their squad. I think it speaks to the depth of their roster that they've been able to run out to a 3-0 start, regardless of who they played. This is a team that has a championship pedigree. They have high standards and expectations each and every year, and they play up to that. That said, they're not the boogeyman. You know, you have to go in there. You have to be able to deal with their physicality and toughness. You got to be able to weather the storm that is coming. But at the end of the day, to me, this is about let's get the game in the fourth quarter and slug it out with a team that is always one of the elite teams in the league.
Yeah, I think the point Bucky made, JP, that I hadn't thought about is the fact that Liam's coached against him so often. And teams in the West do tend to play the Niners sometimes tougher than a lot of teams. I mean, it's true of most interdivision stuff. But I think there's something to that. It's going to be an interesting thing to watch on Sunday.
By the way, Ricky Pearsall, their leading receiver right now, is not practicing today with a knee issue. He's on the injury report all of a sudden, and a guy they've relied on a lot this season, former first-round pick out of Florida. The third in the league in receiving yards. We'll have to watch that this week to add to the long injury list for the 49ers, Bucky.
Yeah, they always overcome. They're always hurt and always overcome it. They're an impressive organization that way, Bucky.
Yeah, there is something to that, though. They are always beat up. And I do know, like, they pride themselves in being the bullies on the block. They're a very physical team. They go about their daily methods in practice. They're a very physical team in terms of practice, and that carries over to games and those things. But they are always forced to play with backups and those things. In Ricky Pearsall's case, he is an outstanding route runner. Loved him when he was coming out. He's the perfect person to fill the void that they had on the perimeter. When they got knocked out by the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, a lot of their issue was their inability to separate from man coverage. Enter Pearsall, outstanding route runner, someone who can uncover, get away from tight coverage, can do all the intricate and exotic routes that Kyle Shanahan prefers. If he's available, man, it's a tough guard, it's a tough cover, and you have to make sure that you got multiple hats around him when he catches the ball, because he's also a pretty good runner after the catch.
All right, the matchup is on the Jaguars and the 49ers this Sunday at Levi's Stadium, Santa Clara. We're back in a moment. Final thoughts, including the Jaguars' history in the state of California.
Got to bring that up, huh?
Yep, we got to do it. We'll do it after this. It's Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks.
They're a pretty simple scheme. They're not trying to really trick anyone, but they've always had a good defense, and this scheme has always been really good and tough to play against because they are so consistent, and they're really disciplined. They play most things top down. You know, they fly around sideline to sideline as far as just the D-line and the linebackers. So they make a lot of plays with that front group there. And then on the back end, I think they're really disciplined. They're really smart. So it's just, we'll have some opportunities down the field, but it's really taking that profit every time and being able to check the ball down. And they've made they've played really well with that scheme of just banking that you're not just going to, take the small gains all the way down the field and put together a 9, 10, 12 play drive and go score. And they're also really good at taking the ball away. So when you do put the ball in harm's way, whether it's a throw or just carrying the ball, they're really good at punching, causing fumbles, all those things. So you can tell it's a really well-coached group. They fly around.
That's the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. His press conference at Jaguars.com and Jaguars YouTube from earlier today. Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks is brought to you by Fields Auto Group Jacksonville. See Fields first. Jacksonville's premier luxury auto group. Go to fieldsauto.com. Final moments here. The Jaguars in Santa Clara this Sunday. Only their second visit to Santa Clara, only their third visit ever to play the 49ers on the road. They've been a bunch to the Bay Area, of course, when Oakland was still in the league before they moved to Vegas. But only their second trip to Levi's Stadium. The Jaguars historically in the state of California have not fared well. On your screen there, 4-11 all-time in the state, 0-2 at the Niners. You see the two losses there, Candlestick in 2009 and Levi's Stadium in 2017. That was late in the year in 2017, around Christmas, I believe. It was Christmas Eve, maybe. Remember that?
2017, oh yeah, they got rolled.
It was steamrolled.
They're a really good team.
It wasn't even that close.
No, it was Niners got way up early, and the Jags actually did a nice job coming back for a little bit in the first half, and then it was just
cooked in that game.
Yeah, it was probably the worst loss of that year for that 17 team.
And then you see the rest. They've had horror stories against the Chargers, both places, at the Rams once, and at the Oakland Raiders. They had mixed success. So this has got to be part of the new era of Jaguars football, too. Put all this in the rear view, and they haven't played this Jaguars team.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that like when I was covering the team in the 90s, this wasn't a thing because it was so young. But since I've been back in 11, for 15 years, every time you go west, no matter what era, this is the topic. And every era has said, hey, it's not us anymore, and it has been. So I'm writing later this week. This is not a must-win game by any means, but it is very much a chance to show you can go win out there. But second, go beat a team like this. That's a good team. No matter how many guys are hurt, they're 3-0. And I think most people in the league know what the Niners are, Bucky. They're respected. The Niners are the kind of team that it's tough for a team that's in the Jaguars' position just starting out. It's tough for them to go beat them. But you know what? You can go beat them and show that this is different. So I think it's a big chance for this bunch.
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity. And in fact, as someone who lives in California, I would say we need to play more games in California. That's the only way to even the record out. You got to have more bites at the apple.
Right.
So maybe we can do something like that to kind of tilt the playing field back in the Jaguars'
I'll stay
direction.
at your place, Buck.
I mean, yeah, we can do that. Like, come
All
on. I mean, why not?
You don't want
that. What I will say is the Niners have always been an organization that has high standards. Like, they have a championship pedigree. It was established with Bill Walsh, and it's continued from coaches time after time. And so there's a way that they operate. They kind of know winning. They embrace winning. And for an upstart team, a team that is learning how to win, they take advantage of your mistakes because they know that you're not consistent enough to be able to do it down after down, quarter after quarter. For the Jaguars, I think if you're Liam Cohen, I think in a way you break this game down into quarters and play each 15-minute quarter on its own. Hey, guys, let's get to the fourth quarter, be right there in the second quarter. Let's get to halftime and make sure we're in range. Third quarter, we're here. Fourth quarter, let's go win it. If you do those things and kind of take the broader thing out of it, where you kind of focusing on an individual process that you break up, I think that'll give the Jags a chance. And it appears to listening to Trevor Lawrence when he talks about the defense, it appears they understand what they're up against. And when you do that, you have a heightened sense of awareness. You know who you're playing, not in terms of being intimidated, but just kind of knowing what's out there. I think we're going to see the Jaguars respond with the best game of the season thus far.
Yeah, that's sort of talking around the same issue, the red zone. You don't want to give away an opportunity there, because then they're running off the field telling each other, yeah, we were waiting for that. So, I mean, that's exactly what I think. It's why it's such a mental test, I think, for the Jaguars this weekend, to sort of prove to this 49ers team that'll be waiting for them to make those mistakes, hey, that's not us. So I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by this team, first of all. I was fascinated going to the Texans game, how they'd respond to that. I think they'll respond well. I don't know if they'll win. I think it's a tall ask for them to win this game, but I think they're going to have a chance. And we're learning a lot about the toughness of this team. And I think everything else you can say about the Jaguars, I do think they're a mentally and physically tough team, which is interesting to watch after what we've seen here for a while.
And the 49ers are so banged up as well.
Yeah.
This will be a good time to get them while all that's going on. Bucky, no time zone jumping for you this week. You get to stay in the Pacific time zone.
You gonna ride your bike down, Bucky? Is that what you're doing?
I mean, maybe,
Vespa?
I might try and keep it green and just kind of do something light work. Don't, make sure I take care of the people. It should be fun. I'll make sure I take care of you. I'm see if I can find you a nice little spot to eat and feel good. Enjoy some of this California living.
I look forward to it. California. I am kind of a California guy. Bucky lives there, but spiritually, I'm a California guy.
I could see that, John.
I can see John fully embracing all of that. I can see him as a
lot of beach
guy,
workouts for me.
Yeah.
Well, not in San Francisco, though. I mean, this is Northern California. It's different.
Yeah, Northern California. It's a little chillier, but we can go down. We can figure it out.
Right.
We can make it right for you.
Bucky, we'll talk to you later in the week, man. Appreciate it.
Come on, man. Let's go.
Bucky Brooks out of here. John Oehser. I'm JP Shadrick. Our thanks to Joe Fortunato, Brent Reber, our entire crew. And thanks to you for watching. It's Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks.